Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the new moon and solar eclipse that we're going to have on Monday, April 8th in a nakshatra called Revati in the sign of Pisces. But before I begin, I would also like to say I will be talking about the sidereal or astronomical placements as used in Vedic astrology. If you're new to this channel, hi! My name is RoseAnna, I'm a Vedic astrologer. On this channel I talk about new and full moon updates and planetary transits. So if you're interested in that, you can subscribe below. Alright, so there's an added intensity and a little bit of a special significance to this new moon, as it will also be a solar eclipse. And depending on where you're located, you can see it's a total solar eclipse, and it will be visible for most of America and Canada and the westernmost parts of Europe. But if you're like me, located in Sweden, you won't be able to see it, but you will still feel the energy of this point of transformation that the eclipses usually bring. So eclipses happen when the sun and the moon align on these points in the ecliptic, which we call the lunar nodes. So that is Rahu and Ketu. And it means that the new moon will be located directly between the Earth and the sun, blocking out the sun from view. And this phenomenon in Vedic astrology, the eclipses, which are created by the lunar nodes, Rahu and Ketu, this is actually why the nodes are usually referred to as the shadow planets, because they have this capacity to encase the luminaries in shadow. And so, as always, when it comes to the eclipses and shadowing out one of the luminaries, it also means that it will move into shadow and then back into the light. And for me, this is symbolically significant for taking something out of the shadow and bringing it into consciousness. And so, because it comes from the shadow and into the light, making us aware of something. Usually this is something from the subconscious. It could be old emotions, old patterns, behavioral patterns, old wounds, or things we have been not consciously aware of, or something we have neglected, or something our intuition has been trying to call us on to focus on, but we haven't really been paying attention. But usually the eclipses are like points of transformation, so they bring something into our awareness that it's meant for us to see, or meant for us to they bring out certain changes usually in our life. But as always, the eclipses run on these 6-month cycles. So usually you can view it as the day of the eclipse is like the planting of a seed. And then the what would you say, the growth, the interpretation, the implementation was the word I was looking for. The implementation of these changes usually come in these cycles. It could also be interesting to go back to the eclipses that we had last fall and see what was I working on back then? What emotional patterns, or what behaviors, or what theme was very prominent in my life back then? What changes were I implementing back then? And see where you are now on your journey, and what changes you wish to make as of right now, what feels important as of right now. So they usually work on these 6-month cycles, and it could be interesting both to focus on the now, but also see what you were focusing on back last fall. So the eclipses also has this way of surfacing things that might feel a little bit out of alignment with our life, whether that be pertaining to our work, our vision, our relationships, our home life, you know, whatever aspect feels a little bit out of alignment, or where there are things that we need to be made aware of to make certain changes. The eclipses has this way of surfacing those types of things or those types of emotions. So it could be a time where we get inspired thoughts or intuitive guidance where we need to make certain adjustments in our lives. So this new moon and solar eclipse will be in the cluster of stars that is called Revati. And this is a nakshatra that resides fully within the sign of Pisces, the fish. And the fish is also a symbol for this nakshatra. And it's a very usually referred to as one of the most gentle of the nakshatras. It's very emphatic and nurturing and just very, very gentle in its expression. Now, of course, there will be a solar eclipse, making it all the more intensive, but usually Revati is one of the most auspicious nakshatras. And if we look at the deity that is linked to Revati, it's Pushan, or the nurturer and the retriever of lost things, or even the retriever of lost souls, I want to say, because Pushan is usually referred to as the one who guides spirit from this life and into the next. So making sure we're on the right path, making sure we reach our destination and end up where we're supposed to be. So it's a very also gentle and caring, let's say, deity that is linked with this nakshatra. Very spiritually, yes, let's say emphatic or nurturing, or I'm saying the wrong word, empathic? No. You know what I mean. There's also this deep longing for connection and feeling like at one with all, like the sense of unity with this nakshatra. So it is also a very, usually called one of the most spiritual nakshatras, and because it has this energy of empathy, connectivity, very gentle, very caring. If we look at the planetary rulers, the ruler for Revati is Mercury. And because we're in the sign of Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter, there's this energy of Mercury and Jupiter together here, which creates a lot of inspiration, inspired ideas, deep connection to our sense of meaning and purpose and our life philosophy, and the desire to find meaning in all the aspects of our life. So there's this really strong need here for feeling that connectivity and purpose and meaning behind everything. Also the desire to really go deep with things, to really understand things on a deeper level. So superficial knowledge is not really like interesting here. You really want to go deep with things. You want to understand on a much deeper level so that it creates a sense of meaning. So you need a reason, a meaning behind everything you do or everything you initiate under the influence of Revati. Now, of course, there's a solar eclipse, so it's not really recommended as a point of initiating new projects, but in either case, allow yourself some space and listen into your intuition, because you might receive intuitive guidance or inspired ideas or inspired thoughts during this time. I will share my questions for reflection by the end of the video, but first I want to go a little bit deeper into what the meaning is for each of the 12 zodiac signs. So for Aries, this happens in your 12th house of your dreams, your sleep, your spirituality, your sense of connectivity, and your deeper emotions. And it would also highlight the polarity between this and your 6th house of routines and structure, order, and your health, and the way you take care of your health, and also the work that you do every day, like your daily work. So this can really highlight the balance between wanting control and wanting structure, and the need to also let everything go and just trust the process. And it could also be a time where you get some more where emotions from the past surface, or deeper desires. You get some more connection with your dreams and what you really wish for, what you really wish to create, what are you truly longing for on a deeper level. what in your life really feels most important. That can be a theme for you during this eclipse. It could also be a time where you're called a little bit to take more care of your health, your sleep, your energy, or even your spirituality. Like, how are you allowing your intuition to get some space in your life? Are you listening inwards? Are you taking pause every once in a while just to recharge your batteries, disconnect from all the everyday hustle bustle, and just, you know, be by yourself and be, yeah, just recharging your energy again. So for Taurus, for you, this happens in your 11th house of your higher vision, your dreams, and your social networks, your friendships. And it will also highlight the polarity between this and your 5th house of your creativity, your personal path, your goal, your vision, your creativity and sense of passion. And so there can be a lot of changes pertaining to these things, like how are you expressing your own individual creativity? And what dreams, what goals are you working toward? Perhaps you're going through certain changes when it comes to these things. Certainly or suddenly you feel like what used to inspire you perhaps are going through some changes, and you feel drawn to some new things or new circles of friends or new ideas or new vision for the future is perhaps starting to form a little bit here. And it could also be a time where the way you express your passion and creativity is also going through some changes. But it could also be a time where you're longing for friendships or a sense of community that shares your vision, that shares your dream, and how you can build this together. Gemini, for you, this happens in your 10th house of your career, your personal authority, and your work. And it will also highlight the polarity between this and your 4th house of your home, your safety, your emotions, and your family. And so there can be a shift in the way you balance these things. Perhaps you feel like you're drawn to set some new goals for yourself. What is it that you really want from your current work? Or what really feels most inspired or most important for you? Perhaps you're wanting to do some changes when it comes to these things, or changes when it comes to your home, and creating, if you've been neglecting one or the other, then that sense of disharmony, or that if they have been out of balance, these two areas of life, then this can also come into focus a little bit for you, so that you can find new ways of creating more balance in your life. But perhaps you're longing for a change in your path, maybe. For Cancer, this happens in your 9th house of long journeys, of higher philosophies, and your teachings. And it brings out the polarity between this and your personal interests and your personal desires, and what your mind is feeling drawn to, like in the 3rd house. So this can be a time where you're suddenly reevaluating your own personal philosophy, or your own truth about life, or what you find most inspiring, what you find most meaningful in life. There can be some changes around these things. Also, your interest might be going through some changes, or if you've been, let's say you've been studying something for a while and you suddenly feel like, I'm not really so interested in this anymore. I feel more drawn to this topic or that topic, or I want to travel and I want to experience something new. So there can be new desires bubbling for you, and also changes in the way you view the world, or your own personal life philosophy might be going through changes as well. So Leo, for you, this eclipse happens in your 8th house of deeper emotions and vulnerabilities, insecurities, and the way you express intimacy in your relationships. And it also highlights that polarity between this and your 2nd house of your security, your material structures, and the way you make your money, and, well, your economy, or, what's the word? Oh, well, your finances was the word I was looking for. So this can really be a time of changes when it comes to the way you perceive your structures in your life and what makes you feel secure. And it can also be a time where old emotions, old wounds, old past regrets or patterns and behavioral patterns or things like that surface a little bit, as it happens in the 8th house. So it's a house of emotional transformation as well. So it could also be a time where you even get more in connection with your intuition and your inner knowing as well. But it can also be a time where you're feeling like you're re-evaluating a little bit of your personal values or your own personal sense of security and your structures, your like material structures, and what really feels important for you during this time. Virgo, for you this happens in your 7th house of relationships and the way you compromise and the way you create harmony in your relationships. And also it will highlight the polarity between that and your 1st house of the self, your unique path, your individual desires. So there can be a lot of focus on these things. And especially if you feel like you've been either not compromising at all or compromising too much, or if you feel like you've been given away your energy too much in your relationships, then this can come into focus for you right now, and you might feel a desire to make some changes. It can also be a time where you feel like you are reevaluating what it is that you truly long for from a relationship. What is it that you truly desire in your partner? Which aspects are you not willing to compromise on, and what aspects feel less important to you perhaps, or the way you share your spirituality with your partner. Are you focused on the same goals? Are you moving to the same on the same path, let's say? It could also be a time where you are questioning your own path a little bit, or where you feel like you're going through a change in direction in a way. But the focus is really between what you wish to aspire to and what you wish to aspire to, or what you desire from your relationships, and how you can create more balance, more harmony between the two. Libra, for you this happens in your 6th house of health, routines, daily work, and the way you perform service. And it will also highlight the polarity between this and your 12th house of how you let go and your dreams and your innermost emotions and your sleep even. So it could be a time where you feel more called to make certain changes when it comes to your health, or the way you take care of your energy, the way you recharge your energy even. It could also be a time where your dream life or your sleep life gets a little bit, I was about to say disturbed, but not necessarily, but your dream life could be more active, and you might have difficult time sleeping or feeling a little bit of restlessness during this time. It could also be a time where if you're not really content with either your routines or the way you take care of your health or the daily work that you do, those types of tasks that you need to do every day to just keep life in order, if you're not really happy with any of these aspects, then that can surface a little bit for you. It could also be a time where the balance between wanting to create structure and control aspects of your life gets sort of pushed out in the way of at the same time being able to let go and release control and just going with the flow and allowing things to unfold as they will. So it can be also a time of where that sense of trust is also in focus a little bit. Scorpio, for you this happens in your 5th house of your path, your heart's desire, your creativity, and your passion. And it will also highlight the polarity between that and your 11th house of your social circles, how you network with others, and also your higher dreams and aspiration and what you are working toward. And it could be a time where you feel certain changes coming on in the way you express your creativity, the way you express your unique self, your passion. It could also be a time where you feel like you're going through certain changes in these areas, where suddenly you feel like what used to interest me so much no longer feels really that interesting anymore, and you feel a change coming in what makes you feel truly inspired and what it is you actually long to create. Which path am I on, and am I really on, do I feel like I am on the right path? That's the way to say it. So it could also be a time where those types of connections or friendships you have that don't really feel aligned with your path anymore, or that you don't share the same values and those relationships just don't feel that important anymore, then that can also surface for you, and you might feel like you're making certain changes when it comes to your personal relationships and your friendships and your your social circles even. Sagittarius, for you this happens in your 4th house of your emotions, your security, your home, your family, and it would also highlight the polarity between that and your 10th house of your career, your personal authority, and the way you seek your work, how you express yourself in the outer life. So this can be a time where you feel like if there has been disproportion in the balance of these two areas, then that can come into focus a little bit for you. It could also be a time where you feel like you need to make certain changes around your house, around your home life, your family life. It could also be a time where old emotions or old patterns, old wounds start to rise to the surface for you to be able to deal with and release at this time. And it can also be a time where if there are some aspect of your work that you've been feeling a little bit dissatisfied with or not really content with, then that can come into focus for you as well. And perhaps your intuition will guide you to make certain changes around any of these areas. Capricorn, for you this happens in your 3rd house of your personal interests, your desires, and your close community, and it would also highlight the polarity between that and your 9th house of higher life philosophies and your sense of purpose and meaning and your teachings. So it could be a time where you're going through some changes when it comes to your personal interests, and you may feel like things that used to feel so fun and so inspiring suddenly don't really hold the same interest for you anymore, or you feel like you're going through a lot of changes when it comes to your personal truth, the way you view the world. There might be things surfacing that makes you alter your life philosophy a little bit, or teachings that you used to follow suddenly feel like they're not really aligned with where you are at the moment. So there could be some changes when it comes to these as well. It could also be a time where you get to focus a little bit more on creating a sense of community on close around you, and that feels more important, and doing things just for the sake of fun, doing things that really makes you feel inspired, feels more important to you at this time. Aquarius, for you this happens in your 2nd house of your security, your values, and your personal finances. And it will also highlight the polarity between that sense of security in the 2nd house and the total loss of security in the 8th house that deals with your personal and emotional transformation, insecurities, fears, vulnerabilities, and the way you express intimacy in your relationships. So there can be a lot of focus and a lot of intensity for you around these things, around your sense of security and how you value certain structures in your life, and the ability to both create meaningful structures and at the same time letting go of control, which is a lot of theme around the 8th house. So those polarities can come into effect for you at this time. This might also be a time where emotions from the past, or past wounds, past hurts, past regrets are surfacing for you to be able to feel, release, and eventually let go of. So it could be a time where there's a lot of emotional healing for you as well. It could also be a time where you feel your intuition is coming a little bit more into focus, or you get some like intuitive guidance that you feel you need to follow. It could also be a time where you're questioning a little bit of your personal values, or restructuring your values, or even restructuring your finances. That also comes a little bit more into focus for you, perhaps at this time. Pisces, for you, this happens in your first house of yourself, your individuality, and your path, and your seventh house of your relationships, your ability to compromise, and well, yeah, your romantic relationships. So that will become in focus for you at this point, especially how you balance the two. And if there have been a time where you feel like you've been compromising too much with yourself and your own values, your own interests, your desires, this can come into focus a little bit at this time. Also, it could be a time where you're discovering a little bit more about your desires in your relationships and what it is you really long for in a partner, what you really value in a partner, how you really wish your relationships to be, and what they ultimately would look like in the best of worlds. It could also be a time where you're going through a lot of changes when it comes to your sense of individuality, the way you express yourself, the way you manage your energy, the way you follow your path in the world. And even it could be a time where we feel like you are changing paths a little bit, and perhaps you're not really sure yet on which path this new one will take you or where it might lead, but you feel perhaps like you are in a point of transformation when it comes to this, in a point of change. You feel ready to make certain changes when it comes to your path and your individuality. As usual, I will share my questions for reflection that I wrote for the new moon. And the questions I wrote for this new moon are: am I honoring my spiritual journey? Am I taking care of my emotional well-being? Do I have any attachments in need of letting go? Is there something in need of healing in my life, an aspect of my life in need of healing? And how can I bring more healing into the collective? I also wanted to share a line I wrote a couple of years ago that felt really fitting for this solar eclipse in Pisces. So, oneness or unity is always found within, never disrupted by outside forces, forever residing in the silence behind our heartbeat. So that was it for this update. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like or a comment, or even share the video with someone you believe would appreciate it. And I wish you all a magical new moon and insightful solar eclipse. And I will see you all in the next update. Take care, guys. Bye!